Wishes of the board.
Move to approve.
Mayor, I have a couple of changes.
We have a motion.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a couple of changes.
Yes, sir.
The acting city manager has asked that we remove item 8A from new business, just remove it, and that item 8G, municipal floodplain ordinance, to defer it to a meeting in November.
Also, Mayor, under old business, B and C, we have a new revised copy of the ordinance prepared by our city attorney that will replace the one we had in our packets.
Items 7B and 7C are revised. Does everybody have a proper copy?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
item L, discuss and take action on Bowie Lake Road change order. It states number 2, that should be number 3.
Other changes, additions, or deletions?
Item H, under new business, Mayor, we need to take up whether or not we are going to cancel the town hall meeting on Halloween.
Adding H, Town Hall, discussion of cancellation. Anything else? I do have in front of me a to be added. Does anybody want to state that, or is that not?
It's actually, I was told to add it, and then I was told it could be covered under 8D, the recommendations from the Public Safety Committee.
Was this also tasked for the committee?
Yes, ma'am, it was at the last meeting,
The
a
both
motion
of them
made by
are
you to
the
defer.
Safety committee task, and they're reporting on both of them this
Yes,
evening?
ma'am,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Other changes, deletions, or additions? All those in favor of the amended agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item is citizens' comments. We have this evening Don Dudich. Okay. You have 3 minutes to deliver your questions or comments. Please speak into the microphone.
Thank you. Actually, the only reason I came here was for this reason, but I got drawn into the other thing, and I apologize for that. As you well know, I live in Polson Place subdivision. Recently, my work schedule has changed, so therefore I'm at home at night now. And I have noticed that there is a street light which has been installed at the top of Cox Pike and Donald Wilson Drive. My house is the second house in on the right-hand side if you come off of Cox Pike. It shines directly into my bedroom. I cannot open my window and my curtains at night in order to get fresh air because I have a spotlight right into my bedroom. I understand it is the city that had put the light up, or had the light put up, excuse me. So I'm asking that if they cannot turn it away from my house, put a deflector in or some way that that light be taken down. It is a nuisance to me and to my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don, may I ask at this time that you make, oh, sorry, other Don, Mr. Lavorne, that you make note to speak with Jeremy Fox immediately to address a deflector or a adjustment and report back. Thank you, I appreciate that. There be no other citizens' comments. We have awards and recognition, and we have a special guest with us, Ms. Diane Ellis. If you would approach, the president of the Fairview Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, citizens of Fairview. In September, the Fairview Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored Nature Fest. It was the 29th such event. Now, it hasn't always been called Nature Fest, and it's taken on a little different character than what it had when it was just a community day. But nonetheless, it is a day when we celebrate that we live in Fairview, where I hope you can have chickens again. And I don't live in the city, so I can't say anything about the chickens. We can celebrate our park, we can enjoy music and fun and all sorts of good things. We had weather that we couldn't have ordered this year. It was indeed a wonderful day. There are lots of volunteers who participate in getting ready for Nature Fest. If I were to begin to thank those people, I would be certain to leave some of you out. And so I'm not going to name you. You know that you were a sponsor or that you did something that helped that day be as successful as it was. This year, we have several new members on our board of directors at the Chamber. It's always good to have new blood. And I have 5 of those folks with me, 4, excuse me, you don't count. 4 of those with me. Is there somebody else back there?
Nancy.
You guys come up here and introduce yourselves. Each one of these members of the board were key to the successful Nature Fest this year. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Jillian Walker. I'm Jessica Cherry.
I'm Bill Taylor, the treasurer.
John Cherry, Vice President.
You guys don't go away.
You've got one in the back, too.
Oh, who's hanging out in the back? Come on up here, Stephen.
And Nancy Stevens.
We have 3 other members who couldn't be with us tonight. So I just want to thank these folks and all of those people who helped participate in Nature Fest this year. And we have 2 little presentations we wanted to make tonight. Unfortunately, Sergeant Turk from our JROTC could not be with us. We do have a little check that we're... Oh, Sergeant Hill's going to take it. Come on up, Sergeant Hill. He led this group for many years for us. JROTC cadets do parking, they pick up trash, they haul bales of hay, they do tons of things that help make Nature Fest Nature Fest. And this year, instead of a pizza party, we've decided to give JROTC a little money because we understand they need some new equipment and things.
Great.
So, Sergeant Hill, please pass that along for us. And the city of Fairview is very helpful with the Nature Fest. There's no doubt of that, particularly the Parks Department. They spruce the park up even a little better than usual, and they're there on the day of Nature Fest to help make sure that we don't walk where we shouldn't walk or throw things where we shouldn't throw them, and that we pick up all our trash, and they work really hard that day. And so the Chamber also has a small check for the Parks Department this year. I'm sure there is something that they can use it for, a bit of equipment or something. And so I would like for Keith to come on up and take this little check. I know that we interrupt things, but we would like to make a picture with the whole group and Sergeant Hill and Keith. Could we do that now, or we have to wait? And Sergeant Hill will walk faster. We can slip that right in. And I do appreciate your indulgence in allowing me to make these little presentations tonight. And thank you to each of you, because I know each of you are involved in our being in the building and our participation at Nature Fest every year. Thanks again.
Thank you, Diane.
Let Diane go.
Thank you.
I'm gonna smile.
Get your phone on.
Put that better to the What do you think?
What a great presentation. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for all their tireless work. We've got volunteers who care about the community and give their time over and above to have the things that take place. So I am very grateful for the Chamber of Commerce and all the things that they participate in to make this a great community. Other awards and recognition, I would like to acknowledge our County Commissioner, Mr. Dwight Jones. Would you approach the podium? Welcome. You have a special announcement that you'd like to fanfare, and we'd love to hear it.
I really wasn't planning on talking, but I know there's a recycling spot on your agenda, so I will let everybody in Williamson County know that Williamson County did just win an award across the nation for Keep America Beautiful, and that's keeping Williamson County recycling. And it's, you know, not only does Fairview participate in it, everybody across the county, but I did want to say it in Fairview too. We appreciate everything we do out here, and anything we can do at the county to help Fairview out, we're willing to do it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your service to the county and to Fairview. I will make a sub-note to that is the Keep Williamson Beautiful is the cooperative that works together with the Fairview Area Chamber of Commerce, and we are having a clean sweep on Saturday. If you have an interest of pitching in and helping out keep the community litter-free, it is Saturday morning at 8 a.m. at Bank of America. Show up, whether it be that particular area that they assign or you have a personal area that you would like to focus on. They would be glad for any and all participants. Anyone under the age of 16 must be accompanied by an adult, but they do welcome children. There are school projects that could be looked at. So with that being said, those are community hours that are tallied and calculated. So Fairview participates in the Keep Williamson Beautiful project by keeping those volunteer hours on our projects for the spring clean sweep and the fall clean sweep. Williamson County also accumulates all the hours of all the cities that do that, and then that's how they participate and how they were awarded the Keep America Beautiful. So it is calculated on volunteers and hours. So if that's a state award, that shows you that Williamson County is dedicated to keeping itself litter-free and beautiful. So thank you to all that participate, and I just wanted to give that footnote because next time you see the come on help with clean sweep, it makes a difference from Fairview to Williamson County all the way across, because somewhere there's probably a United States beautiful. So we're on that rank somewhere with Williamson County. So enough information about that. Is there anything else from the boards as awards or
Mayor,
recognition?
I have one I would like to read.
Okay.
It is from the U.S. Department of Justice, United States Marshal Service. It says, Dear Chief Harris, the United States Marshal Service of the Middle District of Tennessee would like to commend Detective David Bowler, Detective Phil Jarose, Detective Jennifer Beach, Patrol Officer Shane Dunning, Patrol Officer Derek Byram, Patrol Officer Richard Ross for the invaluable assistance they provided in helping to apprehend wanted fugitive Jerry Shutt. Mr. Shutt was wanted by the Madison County Sheriff's Office in Illinois for aggravated criminal sexual assault and unlawful restraint of 2 juveniles. The case hit home for the United States Marshal Service since the children involved were those of Deputy United States Marshal who was killed in the line of duty. The family and children will be able to rest peacefully and start the healing process knowing that Mr. Jerry Shutt is behind bars thanks to the due diligence of those fine men and women of the Fairview Police Department. Sincerely, Louise W. Kelton, United States Marshal.
Wow.
Would y'all like to say anything? Your work speaks clearly here. We have a copy of that.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful acknowledgement and award, but most of all, what a good closure. So we appreciate your dedication. We appreciate all the work that you do keeping us safe. Thank you. Great job. Okay. Will there be any other awards or recognitions? Staff? Board? Moving on. Number 5 is public announcements.
Mayor, I'd like to remind everyone that next week is the Bowie Nature Park's Haunted Forest Carnival of Souls, Lost Souls. It will be on Friday and Saturday, the 25th and 26th, from 7 to 11 p.m., and it is $10 a person. And Mr. Paisley will be giving more details on this during the staff comments tonight.
Great. Any other public announcements? I've already shared Clean Sweep is 8 to noon at Bank of America. Wear a Halloween costume. Well, Saturday morning ought to be very entertaining on Highway 100. Cute. Announcements?
Yes, coming up, and I want to, and please, we double check the date, but the high school's doing their fall festival. Is that Saturday? Anybody know times that's here? What's 3 to 8? So at Fairview High School, and it's a fundraiser for the high school.
The fundraiser golf tournament is that morning at Montgomery Bell at 8 o'clock. Montgomery Bell Golf Course.
Okay. Great. Anything else? It's a busy time of year. Thank you. Next item is the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
We do not have any, so we will defer that at this time. Item number 7A is old business. Second and final reading on Bill 2013-21, ordinance number 816.
It's an ordinance to change the zoning of certain property in the city of Fairview, Tennessee, located on Chester Road, owned by Kelly J. Shiver and wife Kelly C. Shiver, as shown on Fairview Geological Listing of Assessment Roll Map 47, parcel 26.01 from RS-15 PUD to RS-40. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have 7B, which is a revised ordinance. This is the second and the final reading on Bill 2013-10, ordinance number 805. I'd like to interject, Mr. Cantrell. Can you please tell us, since I've not read the revised version, what was the revision and why?
Yes, ma'am. The revision did not change the text of the ordinance at all. The new state statute requires that once this is approved, that it be registered in the Williamson County Registrar's Office. And for them to register it, it has to have the name of the person that prepared it, which I put on the top of the.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, on the last page, I put an acknowledgement on there of the signatures on the ordinance so that it can be registered in Williamson County's Registrar's Office, and that's true of both the ordinances. That's all that was changed. The text did not change.
Thank you for that clarification. We have Bill 2013-10, ordinance number 805.
An ordinance to amend, an ordinance to annex certain property located at 2950 Fairview Boulevard, herein described below, and to incorporate same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Fairview, Tennessee, belonging to Jerry E. Carey and wife Helen A. Carey. All the property proposed for annexation lies within the city of Fairview, Tennessee's growth boundary. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a first and a second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried for the revised ordinance. Item 7C, again, it is a revised ordinance. It's a second and final reading of Bill 2013-11, ordinance number 806.
It's an ordinance to annex certain property located at 2931 Fairview Boulevard, herein described below, and to incorporate same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Fairview, Tennessee, belonging to Russell Spicer and wife Peggy Spicer. All of the property proposed for annexation lies within the city of Fairview, Tennessee's growth boundary. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 7D, second and final reading on Bill Number 2013-12, Ordinance Number 807.
An ordinance to add Chapter 3, Section 13-301, Keeping of Chickens to Title 14, Zoning and Land Use Control for the Municipal Code of the City of Fairview, Tennessee. That is the correct one?
I have a question about this. City Attorney Cantrell, there was a discussion we had at the last to have a sunset clause. I do not see that in the ordinance.
Let me find my ordinance.
Yes, sir.
It's in there.
Thank you for helping me.
I will point it out. On page 3, be it finally ordained that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its final passage, the public welfare requiring it, however, this ordinance in its entirety shall sunset effect 2 years from its final passage, become void and have no effect from its sunset date unless reenacted or extended by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, prior to that sunset date.
Thank you. I apologize. I did not read into the legalese at the bottom. I was looking in the paragraphs.
I do want to make one clarification on it. Since this is a zoning ordinance, if it's not extended, it will sunset and be of no further effect after that date. However, it being a zoning ordinance, anyone who's obtained and started keeping chickens in accordance with that ordinance while it was in effect will be grandfathered by state statute and will be allowed to keep those chickens even if this ordinance sunsets. It just would not allow people in the future after that to start keeping chickens. Just want to say that for the record.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could, I'd like to ask our codes director a question.
Okay.
Don, one of the citizens spoke during the public hearing and said that we did not have the manpower or the money to enact the laws or ordinances that we have that would be regarding this ordinance. Could you speak to that and tell us did that come from the city, or was that just something that was stated from an outside person?
I mean, we have the manpower, but it just adds more to our plate. I mean, we can do the job if this is approved, but it will add more to our plate to be able to enforce it. And really, the way it's written, I believe it states that any lot says that paragraph 3, any contrary provision of the municipal code, zoning code, or any provisions previously adopted by the City of Fairview, Tennessee, notwithstanding, the keeping of domesticated hens shall be allowed upon any lot which exceeds 20,000 square feet. It would kind of make it hard on us because it's getting that to a specific lot size and not a zoning district. Because within an RS-20 zone, you can have lots that would be greater than 20,000 and some that might be less than 20,000. So we just have to pull plats and things of that nature to measure lot sizes to make sure that the people that are keeping chickens have lots greater than 20,000 square feet.
It was, and thank you for that information, and it was my understanding that the subdivisions in our city, many of them have deed restrictions and covenants that do and don't allow things. So if they already have these, then this would in fact not affect them at all.
It don't affect the restricted covenants whatsoever. But the city doesn't enforce restricted covenants. So
Correct.
If this ordinance is approved, then somebody that wants to have chickens in a subdivision that their restricted covenants would not allow it, and they go ahead and get chickens and keep chickens, codes enforcement, if their lot's larger than 20,000 square feet, is not going to send them a violation letter.
Right.
If the neighborhood says that it's not allowed, then it just makes the neighborhood have to file suit against their neighbor to get rid of the chickens, because the city does not enforce those covenants.
Would you say that that would be any difference than the same restrictive covenant saying you couldn't have above-ground pools, and in the Polston Place subdivision, people putting in above-ground pools?
Yes, sir.
But that's a neighborhood specific to where the neighborhood would then pool together. And in my experience, it's been a majority of the neighbors that enforce their covenant restrictions. And if they cannot get resolution, it would be a majority and an opportunity to form a homeowners association
Correct.
to then have an enforcement bite. So there is a chain that can be taken if a neighborhood does feel that one person is not abiding and keeping the laws of that subdivision intentions. Restrictions are usually dated, 20 years, 50 years, 99 years, so that's something to consider as well. I'd like to make a motion that the section number 3 is changed to 40,000 square feet.
Second.
Discussion.
Mayor, if we change that to 40,000 square feet, that would be 1 acre lots. Don, could you speak to how many approximate subdivisions we have with lots that would be 1 acre or larger?
Well, right off the top of my head, I just know of 2 subdivisions that are major subdivisions that would be considered an RS40 zone, which would be 40,000 square feet, minimum lot size or greater. And probably total lots altogether would be 70 to 80 lots that we have on the books. That's just off the top of my head without, going back through the books to see exactly how many we do have. But just off the top of my head, I can just think of 2 that's actually zoned RS40.
Do you feel that the 40,000, do I need to amend that to read the RS40 zone?
It would be best if it's a zoning district, because you run into the same issue with that if you say 40,000 square foot, because if it's a pan unit development, a PUD, then you could have actually lots smaller than the 40,000 square feet. So you still run into that same situation where some people could have chickens in the neighborhood and some people couldn't.
What's the lowest square footage of the RS40 zone district?
Well, the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet.
Okay, then it's
But-
saying the same thing.
Yeah, but like I said, if it's in a planned unit development, then it could have lot sizes smaller than that, but still have lots greater than 40,000.
I'd like to amend the motion to add the RS40 zone district for clarification.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment.
I've got a question for you, Don. How many lots do we have inside the city that are smaller than that? What percentage of lots inside the city are smaller than that?
Smaller than what?
40,000.
Okay.
The majority of our subdivisions are R20, which the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. So some of those subdivisions would have lots larger than 20,000 square foot, but they would probably range anywhere from 20 to 30,000 square feet in an R20 zone.
So what percentage do you think that would be inside the city?
Probably-
That would have under 40,000, counting all the homes and everything else that you see.
There's 3440 homes, and there's 77,720 people per population in the city of Fairview. Approximate in the census
Like I
of
said, most
2010.
of the major subdivisions that we have is zone R20 or higher density. So the greater percentage of the lots would be 20,000 or, well, less than 40,000. So probably 70, 80%.
So by passing this ordinance that we do, we'd be denying 80% of the people the possibility of having chickens for the same reason that the people that want to have chickens are asking for them. I have a problem with that, but that was the question I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Other discussion? Voting on the amendment to add the district zone for clarification. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Nay.
The first motion was to make the change of from 20,000 square foot to 40,000 square foot. All those in favor?
Nay.
All those in favor? Aye.
That's the same thing we just voted on.
We amended and added the district. This is the first motion of the 40,000.
All right. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. May I have votes on my right, please?
I've already voted. Not for yay, I want,
All the, nay.
nay. That's right.
Thank you very much. The motion passed for the ordinance of 40,000 square feet. E, second and final reading of Bill 2013-808, ordinance number 803.
An ordinance to amend the City of Fairview, Tennessee Municipal Zoning Ordinance 3-105.1 Minor Home Occupations, Section J, by adding subsection X. Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
Mayor, if I can, ask that this ordinance be sent back to the Planning Commission. I have a problem with that paragraph that's being added that puts the major home occupations kind of in the zoning administrator's hand to pick and choose what's considered major. I would rather that there be a definitive list that says these home occupations are considered major home occupations to kind of get me out of making the decisions of what's major and what's not.
I'd like to amend the motion on request of the department head to defer this back to the Planning Commission for additional deliberation.
I will move my motion.
We have a first and second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that negates your,
Yes.
and you've removed it as well, so you double covered it. Thank you. Item F, second and final reading on Bill 2013-20, ordinance number 815.
An ordinance to establish an impound lot, regulations and fees for impounded and/or seized vehicles. Move for approval.
Second.
First and second, discussion.
The only thing I think of is, I don't know without a city manager right now that we need to proceed with any new projects, especially while we're taking in consideration. And that was something that just had come up before Mr. Hyatt left. So not knowing all the details that are going to involved as far as the city employees, I don't know that I'm thinking we should defer it till a later date.
Discussion.
Mayor, as I recall, when Chief Harris briefed us on this, and I see, I guess Chief's not here, but Captain Sutton is in the audience. If I recall, this is just a matter of allowing us to charge for something that we're already doing. There's no physical plant that's going to have to be changed. They've already got a fenced area. They've already allocated it. We've already got cars. The problem is that we can't ever sell those cars if the people don't come back and pick them up, and we can't charge for certain things that we're doing that the normal wrecker service would do. So there's no capital outlay for us to do that. Nothing's going to change except we'll be able to charge for our service that we already do. Is that correct, Captain Sutton?
For the most part, the only thing that I want to make clear for you is the main reason behind this is when we seize vehicles under the DUI statute of a second offense or greater, and we're awarded those vehicles by the Department of Transportation, we have to auction those vehicles off. Any profits or proceeds that are gained from that have to go straight to the state of Tennessee, so we don't recoup any of it. The process that's put in place is for us to charge this fee to ourselves daily in order, and then whenever the sale for the vehicle at the end of the year we can basically bill ourselves for the time that we've got into it, the property that we've taken up, and any major changes that we've done, whether it be fencing or whatever. It helps us recoup those costs. That's the main reason behind it.
How, do you think, can you kind of give me a number of how many more cars now that we change it? Because it's not just the drug cars that are brought in. So are you, give me an example of what that would mean for you. You're not going to do any additional unless it's something y'all seized?
Right, that's the only reason behind it. These are either seized vehicles or evidential vehicles that we have to go through the process of being awarded by the state.
Okay.
Which is a hearing that actually happens at the Department of Transportation in Nashville. We're not just going to be towing vehicles just to be towing them. These are actually going to be involved in an arrest or a seizure from an arrest.
And what do we do now? We actually
take the liability of keeping the vehicle stored there for however long it takes, sometimes up to 2 years, and recouping zero cost at keeping that vehicle on our lot. And another problem they're running into is sometimes the ones we have there now, 2 out of the 3 have there now are abandoned. They were returned to the owner. The owner never came back and got them. And then, so now we're just kind of sitting here with them. And we're kind of trying to get some guidance from the state as to what to do. They're confused as well. So we're waiting on an answer from the state as to how we need to proceed with those vehicles. But other than that, that's the only thing we're going to have over there now is the seizures due to an arrest, whether it be DUI, drug related, or evidence.
But nothing else than what you're already doing?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So by you charging, that allows you an expense to report upon it being sold and being reimbursed?
Yes, ma'am. The process is when we are awarded the vehicle and we sell the vehicle through the seizure, the state on a DUI arrest, on the drug arrest, we get 100% of the proceeds because it's actually awarded to us. Under a DUI arrest, the state actually receives the funds that are gained through auction. What they're allowing us to do is recoup the cost of keeping that vehicle stored in our lot through the court process and bill ourselves that amount of money. It also helps us maintain that lot and any cost that the city has, we will be able to recoup that. The great part about the program is you only have to proceed forward the funding to the state once a year. So each sale that we go through will be totaled at the end of the year, so that if we lose money on a vehicle that we auction on auction A, and we actually make proceeds on vehicle B, and then they cancel each other out. So it's just a better process, and it's a way for the city to recoup some of the money that it costs for us to do that.
Just for a little bit of clarity, we talk about billing ourselves, but by doing that, we're able to forward that billing cost to the state, and it can be recouped at the time of sale.
Right. All we have to do is provide the log information, and we're already doing that anyway for evidential purposes. We've already got the log in place to keep that maintained, so we know what's on the lot at all times, who it belongs to, and what the processes we are following with what it is.
Can you give me just an estimate? It says here that the per diem, it's blank. What is being charged?
I think our standard rate for the local tow services for a daily storage fee is $35, which is across the board for all the tow companies. So that's what we would stick with. It's what the standard rate is for the tow companies.
And that would be written into the ordinance where now it's
That would be added
blank?
to the ordinance now.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I was unaware of that as I studied this. Second, is there a estimate? We have had X amount of cars in the last year or 2 years. This could profit the department X. Do you have any idea of what that gain might be?
I really can't
And I know
tell
it's a
you, 'cause
moving
It's
target.
an arrest-based incident. And typically, some of the factors that we have to put into play is if we take the vehicle under a DUI seizure or under a drug seizure and it has any type of lien on the vehicle, we don't mess with it.
So how many do you traditionally impound a year? Do you have any kind of
I would
track
probably
record?
estimate this year around 10 so far.
So we're talking about $350
That would be per day.
per day,
Per
and then
day.
times the car's long. Okay, so there's a big math problem there. Do you have an idea, or is it written here where that money will be going? And for what purpose?
I don't have the, as far as where it would be forwarded to. Actually, I think as far as the state's concerned, it would have to be in some kind of separated account so that it could be kept up with as far as how much we've taken in the auction fees and how much we've paid out and as far as billing ourselves.
Crystal, clarification, in this money being received, $35 a day, just, we have 3 cars, $35 a day, it's there for 30 days, you can do the math. Where will that money be going?
We would have to set up a special line item so that we could keep that money
It'd
documented.
be revenue
separately.
income into general funds?
Yes, ma'am. But it will have to be taken into consideration in the year-end process with the state.
But there wouldn't be anything specific about what fund it would go into other than the general fund. And it would come through this office here for simply tracking of expenses, outlays, and incomes. Am I correct, Mark?
Well, there's 2 different instances. If it's a drug seizure, that would need to go into the drug fund.
Different.
If you wanted to earmark the other income on the DUI seizures to the drug fund as well, that would be totally up to you as a board.
At what point do we discuss, if we discuss we do want to move forward with the money, when should we discuss where the money will be going versus it washing into general fund, having some purpose identified? Is that wise?
You could. We could give a specific area for it to go to.
Okay.
Yes, you can designate where you want it to go now as part of the discussion of the ordinance if that's the board's wishes.
Do you have recommendations, Captain?
I can't speak for Chief Harris, but I would believe we would be on the same page, just saying that the entitlement to it would go back into the drug fund for special projects that we would use inside the department itself.
Okay, if it goes into drug fund, that wouldn't be consistent with saying the money would be used to refurbish the lot or fix the lot or anything. But you can't take out a drug fund for that, could you?
You can.
I'm sorry.
For that purpose of the
Yes, ma'am.
impound, because it's tied to, okay,
Yes,
just
ma'am,
wanted to
'cause it's tied
clarify.
into the actual casework of the.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Item G, discuss and/or take action on Triangle School update. Commissioner Vassell.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I ask you to recognize Dr. Rice, I just had a couple of comments. I was supposed to have tonight a presentation that Dr. Rice and I had been working on to share with the board and to bring you up to speed, and I have to admit that I just have not had time to put it together. With some of the other stuff we've got going on, it seems to have been time-consuming. So I would ask that it be deferred, the update that I was going to provide be deferred to the first meeting in November, and I will have the action plan and the possible request for whatever remaining funds the society needs to complete the project. We are shooting for a July 1st, 2014 open date. If you haven't been by the school, Dr. Rice and his contractors have installed windows. I think it adds a whole different appearance to the school with those windows on it from it. We had, as part of the workshop he and I conducted, we have the action plan, we have some rudimentary drawings about where sidewalks and parking lots and that would go. Dr. Rice has a request tonight that after he speaks, I'll make a motion for, having to do with the building over here on Boone Road. But if it's okay with you, I'd like to recognize Dr. Rice to share a couple of things, Mayor.
Dr. Rice? I will ask for, in your motion, that if it stands with the agenda item or not.
Well, this is it's going out there by the
That's
Triangle
it.
School,
Okay.
so, yeah, I would say.
Welcome,
yeah,
Dr.
it
Rice.
does. If not, we can defer it, but I think it does.
Before I begin my comments, I would like to read a small passage, and it is small, from Rick Warwick's book, Out There in the First District. In 1928, the county hired Mrs. Ruth S. Criddle, a graduate of St. Thomas Hospital School of Nursing, who had completed graduate study in public health at Vanderbilt and Peabody College. Ruth's job was to traverse the back roads of Williamson County from Franklin to Leapers Fork, Fairview, and Fernvale, and all points in between, and solve the problems of the medical problems to the best and knowledge of her knowledge and ability. The program became immensely popular with the far-flung residents of the county, as did Miss Ruth and her honest, straightforward way of dealing with them. To make access to health care more convenient to a greater number of people and to county doctors and nurses, Fairview residents Clarence Daniel Boone Sr. built on his property on Highway 100 a two-room building to be used by the public as a health clinic. One room was filled with benches along the wall, that would be the room to the left, as a waiting room, and the other room was for treatment and examinations. Mr. Boone even was able to outfit the examination room with a sink, which we have, and running water, something that was very unusual for rural areas at that time. The small building was later remodeled as a residence and still stands today at the corner of Highway 100 and Boone Street. I mentioned to you 2 or 3 years ago that Mrs. Clemmy Bucktree had given that building to the Fairview Historical Association, and it would be available to us when Walter, who had lived there 28 years, moved, and he has moved. He went to a nursing home temporarily and is in a high-rise apartments, assisted living place in Centerville. It's called Tulipwood, perhaps you're familiar. The building has been given to us, and of course, it is our desire to give it to the city of Fairview after the back 2 rooms have been removed. Some minor work inside is done and it's been relocated. The Historical Association has the funds to do all of that. And we have medical equipment that is antique, much of which belonged to the Bowies, to place in it. 4 of us spent 3 days last week removing the contents and emptying the building, and I have been involved 4 days this week removing sheetrock. It's going to be quite an asset once we get it there. Commissioner Bazell is going to speak to that, but I might mention that Mrs. Bucktree wants the building moved yesterday. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rice.
Mayor, following along with that, I'd like to make the motion that we grant a variance to Dr. Rice and the Historical Society to move that building. It's at no cost to the city, and it does have historic value based upon the document he read from the history of District First, and they are prepared to bear all the cost of getting it over there and finishing the cleanup and installing the antique doctor tools and stuff. So I would request that we grant them a variance to allow them to move it. They plan to place it close to the Jingo post office, right there on that spot, so that it provides a of the work that they're doing there in the historical village.
Second.
My question, second discussion. My question is, does it fit within the PUD that's accepted by the city at this time?
That's the variance that he's requesting.
All right. We have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Dr. Rice. Look forward to seeing the inside. Item H, is discuss and/or take action on proposal to expand the Town Center Overlay District. Director Lavorne.
I was asked to, the Planning Commission has sent a recommendation to expand the town center to the south side of 100. When we brought that recommendation to the board, I was tasked to get with Chapter Lane and Associates to get an estimated cost, what it would cost to survey the area to be able to put the overlay over that area that we was looking at to expand to before you have that proposal. The option 2, the $24,000 option, is the one that is recommended that we do because of state guidelines and wanting to be able to pinpoint all the parcels within the boundary and not just the boundary itself. Talking with assistant, the interim city manager, she would like for us really to defer this until after the first of the year.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to ask that we defer it till the beginning of the year as finance director as well as interim city manager, as our cash flow, most of our cash flow for property taxes come in at the end of the year. And since this isn't a budgeted item, I would ask that we wait until we get that cash flow coming in from property taxes.
Thank you. The wishes of the board.
Move to approve. Is there much defer? Yeah, thank you.
We have a first and second. Further discussion?
If I may, Mayor, Mr. Lavorne, what is this going to do other than take a map that currently exists and put the south side of Highway 100 on the map? I mean, what's the benefit in this?
The boundary has to be registered with the Register of Deeds.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be surveyed by a licensed surveyor to do that.
No, I understand that part, but why would we want to do it in the first place? Why did the Planning Commission want to do it in the first place? Is there does that put people under some special rules different than?
Yes, sir.
And what would those be? What would be our benefit?
The town center overlay that we have in this part of the town center, right, has its own specific zoning requirements for setbacks, the lot sizes. There's certain zonings that's only allowed in town center. The highest density multifamily zoning that we have, RM20, is only allowed in town center. Planning Commission felt like they wanted both sides of the highway to kind of match when people come through. So both in town center, both sides of the highway would look the same as you come through the city.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's important to have our zoning set. So I just think, obviously, money's. I like the way you talk. If we need to wait, if it's not in the budget, let's wait. But I think there is importance to having this done and in place.
Other discussion?
Mayor, if I could, Don, what other single-family zonings would be allowable in?
You got the RS5 single family that's only allowed in town center. That's not allowed anywhere else.
Could you say that in layman's term?
A 5,000 square foot lot
Okay.
is the minimum lot size for RS5, which is eight homes per acre.
Say again?
8 dwellings per acre.
Okay.
That
Is that fair to say an eighth of an acre? Okay, I understand that. Go ahead.
The Main Street mixed use carries its own design standards and stuff, aside from the commercial design review that we have. for the general commercial areas.
And the reason I ask that is because I believe if we changed this zoning for all of that over there, and tell me if I'm wrong, but just say someone owned 20 acres and they wanted to deed their son or daughter an acre to build another home, this would not allow that. Would that be correct? Without coming in and fighting to get variances?
Yes, sir.
So we could be penalizing people, although we could be increasing their property values to sell it commercial. So this does work both ways, because there's several tracts of land directly across the street. One's over 60 acres and one's over 100 acres. So we could be, depends on how far we take the boundary.
It's not going to be that far, is it, Don?
I had showed y'all an area. Right off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly how.
It's not that deep.
I think it was like 1,500 feet
Something
deep
like that, from the roadway.
from Highway 100, 15 foot deep,
So it wasn't
1,500 foot deep.
Well, the 60-acre tract starts right behind the pizza place. So, I mean, you're not talking over 100 feet off the road.
Well, I know you, and I remember that you did give us a map one time, Don, but I don't have it. So I know that the motion on the floor is to defer it, and if we do pass that motion, then sometime in the not-too-distant future, would you mind providing at least, Alan, the map so that I can kind of see what, the land mass we're talking about here, because I think Vice Mayor Johnson makes a very good point.
Yes, sir. And just was saying that, I feel that we would probably need to have a workshop or a
joint workshop with the Planning Commission and the
Commission.
Board of Commission. They've been asking for that, and I think I will be able to facilitate that in a timely manner between now and the first of the year. Any other discussion about the deferment of the item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is 7I, discuss and or take action on bids of the Greenway project. Director Lavorne, Mr. Will Owen, welcome.
Thank you. I know Director Lavorne was listed, but if you don't mind, I'll present the bids as what were read and opened this past Tuesday. We received 3 bids. We had 6 plan holders. Only 3 of those plan holders chose to actually submit a bid. Those 3 plan holders, if you will find your cover letter that looks like this. The bid tabulation is attached to that. 3 bidders that submitted bids were KW Langford, Wellspring Builders, and Sessions Paving. KW Langford was the apparent low bidder at $157,700. The cover letter basically tells you that and indicates that we would recommend the city to award the contract to KW Langford on 2 conditions. One is that you are still interested in pursuing the project with the understanding that a portion of that is funded by a TDEC Local Parks and Recreation Grant, which is a 50-50 grant that you had previously won. That grant, the total project amount that was approved for that grant was $145,000. So 50% of that will be paid for by the grant, 50% of that will be paid for by the city. As you can see, the low bidder exceeded that $145,000. So anything in exceedance of that $145,000 would be paid for at 100% by the city. So the grant match would be the $72,500. They will not exceed that amount. And as bid, the city's match would be $85,200 approximately.
Say that number again, please.
It's in the item number 1 on the cover letter. It's
Thank you.
$85,200.
We're responsible for anything over the 50-50 on these.
Correct. The 50-50 only goes up to
72 or whatever.
72.5, right,
Okay.
that's correct. And then the other contingency of the approval would be based on, if you approve tonight, we have to submit to the grant folks with the state the whole bid package, and they review that to make sure everything was done properly. It's at this point a formality, but you would want to make your approval contingent upon them approving the bid package once we send it in to them. So if you'll recall, we bid this project approximately 18 months ago in the spring of 2012. At that time, the trail around Lake Van was included in that bid, and those cost figures that came in far exceeded the grant amount. If you'll recall, the board chose to seek approval from the grant agency to remove the Lake Van portion and proceed with the Greenway portion. And again, not to abandon the Lake Van, but to request that it not be included in the scope of the grant work so that we could move forward and utilize the grant funds. That was approved. The plans were revised to remove the Lake Van portion, again, for a later date. And then the Greenway was bid, as I said, last Tuesday. KW Langford, in that initial bid 18 months ago, was also the low bidder. In reviewing those bids, it appeared that the prices that were bid this past Tuesday were very similar to the prices that you received from him about 18 months ago. So that was a blessing that there was not any apparent market fluctuations in the bid prices. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we reject the bids and that we withdraw from this project. I believe that the citizens have told us through the surveys and through personal contact that they believe there's a better use of our money in terms of doing things to improve our park system, things that would be utilized by more systems, by more citizens. Example of that may be the splash pad that Commissioner Carroll offered either last meeting or meeting before or sometime recently. So I recognize there may be some small cost involved and possibly some relationship that has to be managed at some point in the future, but quite frankly, it's not a 50-50 anymore. It's more like 55-45, and then as they get out there, and I just think we have better use for the money, so that would be the reason I'm offering that motion.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. My first question would be, does anyone, Mr. Owen or Ms. Pewitt, have an estimated cost of what has been involved in this project from conception to now?
I do not have it with me, but I could go pull it up on my computer. The only thing I would have would be engineering costs. And I believe it's a combination of this project and Lake Van. So I don't know if we could.
I'm sorry. Along with, this project initially started with your prior city engineer, so I would not have any idea what would have been done under that administration as well.
Is there a time factor to respond on these bids, Will?
The bids are good for 60 days.
I'm in the motion to evaluate the cost incurred and the loss before a decision is made.
Second.
Discussion?
One of the things I think of, I kind of hear what you're saying, and I understand the cost and the percentage is different, but I do worry about, because this is a project we've redone, we had to go back. I worry about relationships too with TDOT. I mean, I know we're tied up in a grant and can't get another one till we determine this, correct?
That's correct. The next grant cycle for the local Parks and Rec grant funding, I believe, is in the spring of 2014. So if this project was completed, which the timeline is such that it would be completed prior to that application deadline, then at that time you could apply for another local Parks and Rec grant for whatever project you saw fit in the park.
Would you be able to present this at the first meeting in November to have the full information?
Yes, ma'am, and I'll also send what I have to you in the morning.
Any other discussion?
I just, there's a training film I saw many years ago about, and I may have used this before, about a family that embarks on a Sunday afternoon to go to Amarillo, Texas, to get some ice cream. And then when they get to Amarillo, the ice cream place is closed. And in their discussion, they find out nobody really wanted any ice cream. And I kind of feel like we're on our way to Amarillo here. The people that come to the park now, that's not the prettiest part of the park. That's underneath the power lines is what we're talking about. It's not going to extend where our bike and horse riders can ride. It was in concept when we were talking about connecting the whole city, but we are years away from doing that and tying that into the safe routes to school and some of the other sidewalk benefits that we've got on board. It just seems to me that it was a great idea because there was grant money available. And now that the reality has hit in that we have other priorities, we're trying to do different things, we're trying to be responsive to our public. We were asked their opinion, and their opinion wasn't to complete the Greenway. Their opinion was to do other things in the Parks and Recs Department that even if it cost us a little money, even if it cost us oops, we're sorry, and type thing with this state agency, even if we spent some money, the fact that they've done the plans, if we ever decide to come back to it, that's money we won't have to spend then. To me, it's not that it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea right now. And so I understand what you're saying, Mayor, but I don't see that waiting 2 weeks or a month to get further hard data will persuade me one way or the other. I'm already persuaded that the time to stop it is right now, and the quicker we do that and tell the state we're not going to use the money, I think that helps us mend the relationship in the long run. If we keep holding on like they're expecting to get this bid package back from us, then I think we continue to not damage, but I think we continue to run the risk of there being some hard feelings. So I'm not going to vote for your amendment for that reason. I'm just got my mind made up that I think that it was well-intentioned. I think Mr. Hyatt was very active in pursuing grants. I think I'm as guilty as I would accuse anybody else of, hey, if we can get somebody to pay for half of it, sounds like a good deal. But in reality, that's $82,500 or maybe a little less than that, but that's $80,000 that would go a long way to providing some of those things they told us in the park survey that they would really like us to have and have now. So that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you, and I appreciate your comment. I don't disagree with your concept, but I am in no way prepared to vote on something and to turn it back without having all of the information at hand. If it is $5 or $50,000, which I know that's exorbitant, it makes a difference in this decision of whether we do or we don't. And I do not have all the facts to make a decision is the reason I've made the amendment. For the safety and security, that we had full information of what we were rejecting, what was the cost incurred, and answering to the people for their money, why and what we did. And I'm not opposed to the concept. And I believe in 2 weeks, being we have 60 days to respond, that we can have that decision by the 7th meeting. Any other discussion?
Well, I have a question for you on, and a lot of people know how I feel about some of this, is the plans and everything that was paid for and ahead of time, did that include Lake Van?
Say that again.
Was Lake Van Trail included in that?
In the plans that were done by the previous engineer?
Yes.
No. Lake Van was not, the design of Lake Van Trail was not done by the previous engineer, just the Greenway was.
Solely, you were the sole designer of the Lake Van Trail?
Yes, sir.
So yes, there's an existing plan that was drawn up that can be utilized in the future, and that is a dead cost at this point that we've already absorbed. Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Would you desire to have those costs separated for the next meeting?
I would.
Yes, sir. Just for clarity, for the purpose of what we need to know details.
We'll do our best.
Okay, and I appreciate that. You have record of when you sent it to us, when we were requesting how much was spent on what project. You may want to gather that data to be able to base off of, because it'll be useful in what we're asking.
Right. My data has them together,
Okay.
but I do have it, you're correct.
Okay, and we had that document, so just bone it up there. Other discussion?
The only other thing I would say is, you do have 60 days, that's not an issue. If there is a desire or concern to meet that spring deadline to apply for the next cycle, I would encourage you not to put it off certainly much longer than the next meeting.
Due point, thank you. Other discussion? All those in favor of the amendment of gathering the detailed information of the money spent thus far? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Original motion is to withdraw, reject the bids, and withdraw from the process at a loss, as presented by the engineer, K.W. Langford. Said it was the low bid. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. I still would like that information, Chief Financial Officer, so I'm acknowledged of what we have just voted on and the money that was lost. Thank you.
For my directive, I will generate a letter stating that you are returning the grant funds and choosing not to do the project at this time. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And that'll be for the mayor's signature?
Let's make it the vice mayor's signature. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Discuss or take action on bids for police cars. Chief Harris or Captain Sutton?
Mayor, if I may, I'll present the bids, and if you have any questions, Captain Sutton or myself will answer. We opened the bids yesterday at 2:30. We had 2 bids that came in on time. We did receive a 3rd bid at 3:28 yesterday afternoon. The deadline was 2 p.m. The 2 bids that we had, the low bid actually did not follow the specifications. I spoke with City Attorney Cantrell this afternoon to verify that that makes that bid null and void. And he did confirm that because they left off one of the specifications that we asked for in the advertisement, that the low bid is not to be considered.
Non-responsive.
Non-responsive, he says. Our advertisement said you had to specifically follow the, thank you, specifications, and they left off some of the things that we requested to be on the car. And I believe everyone has a copy of the bids that we opened. So the only bid that followed all specifications came in at $26,862.70 per vehicle. And we did ask for 12 during our bid process, which would have been a total of $322,352.40. They did come in right about $3,000 apart in total, the new bids did.
Move to accept the bid from Middle Tennessee Ford.
Second.
Discussion? Question I would have, is that a bulk price or is that a per car price?
Well, our bid went out asking for the sealed bid on 12 new vehicles. I don't know if he specifies, he breaks it down, I say he, I believe the gentleman was he. He breaks it down per car. There are many discounts that he has, 2 discounts that he has listed on his sheet. So he breaks it down per vehicle and then gives us a total also.
Okay. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that 6 cars be approved with, after the first of the year, 6 cars being discussed again of need or desire.
I'll second that for discussion.
Discussion? Any discussion?
The only thing is, I don't want to mess up the process they've gone, but I'm not going to be for any cars. But I think if we could find a compromise of, let's do 6 this year, 6, I would be happy. I mean, that's all. I always thought this was too many to purchase at one time. And regardless of what happens tonight, that's not going to change. I know they need cars, and they definitely we need a plan to get them. But I would much rather see us buy 6 than 12.
Other discussion? All those in favor of the motion amended for 6 police cars purchased? Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Thank you very much.
Now we need to accept the bid.
Original motion on the floor of approval of the 12 cars as presented by the police department.
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay. Original motion carries. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you. Oh, you're staying up because of the next subject.
Yes.
Sorry. Discuss and or take action on authorizing to purchase in-car camera systems. Hi, Miss Sissy. Welcome.
Mayor, if I could,
Yes, sir.
I believe this was one of the things that in the original motion we were asked to look at as the Public Safety Committee as to whether or not sole source bidding of this particular project was the appropriate thing to do. Speaking on behalf of the committee, Commissioner Sutton, myself, the chiefs, we believe it is. It is imperative that the equipment that we purchase be able to meld into our system without having to incur more software cost or possible refurbishment of some of the equipment that we already have. So it is the recommendation of the Public Safety Committee that we do approve the purchase of the camera system that Captain Sutton will be presenting. Thank you.
I'd also like to add, under the sole sourcing idea, this will be a continuous project, not for just this group of vehicles, but for any vehicles in the future. And by allowing or approving this motion, it would allow us to continue building on the same infrastructure we have now, which was the plan all along. And it keeps us from having to come back to you guys each time and go through this motion of this individual purchase. We also have some grant funding available that we're going to be utilizing to purchase one of these units as well, and we're going to continue to ask for those in the future. So it would just help us in the process of getting the equipment that we need and continuing the project.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a first and second discussion.
Mayor, may I clarify something before you, since you're in discussion, that on the sole source, that recommendation has to be given to the board in writing by the city manager, and I think she did that. The vote for that to pass, and I'm not saying pass it or not pass it, I'm just saying in the charter provision C14, 619, and 104C requires a unanimous vote by the board of those members present to pass.
Thank you. Other discussion? The statement I'll make here is, as I feel the need to have the amendment of the 6 cars. I believe the purchase is excessive, and I believe there's a way that we can plan through this. So I'm not in favor of buying cameras for cars that we do not have, nor am I in favor of buying the 12 cameras. So just stating my opinion in my statement there of why I'm not going to vote for this. Other discussion?
I would like to clarify, because I know I just voted not for it, the cars, but I do believe with your explanation of why we should go with this company, that I would like to make a statement that I will vote for this, even though I do not approve the cars. There was, your explanation last time is fitting, and so I would like to explain any decisions when I may vote.
Other discussion?
Captain Sutton, can you give us, how long does it take to get these cameras?
One of the issues we ran into was production dates. I've got a email from the company about 30 days ago that they would decrease the production of this camera type in lieu of a new camera type in the next 60 to 90 days. So we're about halfway through that time already. There would be a $900 increase per unit. What I want you to understand is this is not just solely wrapped around the new car project. This is for the current vehicles, whether we ended up buying no cars or the cars we have now, future purchasing of this camera system, not just for the new cars, but for cars we currently have, and the need to replace as we go along, as well as the grant funding that I've received this year. So it's not about the new car project at all. It's about the camera system itself is what we're asking for this.
So let me see if I got it right. We're running up against, these things are not going to go out of production, and when they go out of production, whether we buy 6 now or 6 later or whatever, we are going to pay $900 more per camera.
And that is an estimate.
That's an
estimate of
they
the
give-
increased
they're
cost
giving
as of
us.
right now. Yes, sir.
Okay. The new cars that are coming in, is our belief still that we're on a 60, 90-day cycle to get those here?
Minimum 8 to 10 weeks on the vehicles.
Okay.
The camera systems themselves, we're looking at about 90 days minimum.
Okay, so we're actually talking about, for those cameras that would be used in the new vehicles, a parallel time frame for those
Right.
cameras that will be used in existing vehicles. If the cameras came in before, they could be installed immediately.
Yeah, the part of the process is that in the cost factor, I think you had a question, I wasn't here last week, but you had a question about the increased amount for the grant funding and the large purchase. And what we've added in there is a training certification for employees of the city to be tech certified for installation. That is an upfront money saver for us, no matter how many vehicles you buy. What it allows is for somebody within our city, which we utilize Captain Woodard with the fire department for most of our installation purposes, to be able to install these cameras and maintenance these cameras. And that'll be for the lifetime of the contract that we utilize this system. It's a $450 installation charge per unit, no matter if you buy 1 or 100. With the increased cost for that training, we're actually saving about $125 per unit this go around, and $450 per unit for every unit we purchase in the future. So it's an overall savings, and I just want to explain the increased cost and why there was a difference.
Yeah, thank you.
And what was our cost again per unit? $12,000, is that ballpark?
Oh, no. It's about, I think it was about $6,600 with that increased certification cost.
So
And that was going to be back-end server training for our IT professionals as well.
So if we wait and get the $900 cost, that would effectively be almost 2 units. We can buy 12 for the price of what 10 will cost us in 90 days when production stops.
Well,
Just under $12,000 increase for 12 units.
Isn't there going to be more increase if we don't do it because of going to the different new model and reprogramming?
On top of that, if we have to end up bidding this system out, in order for a company to come in and replace what we currently have to beat the bid, they're going to have to replace a server. They're going to have to replace a wire modem system that's already in place that we've already spent about $8,600 last year through a grant putting in place. So you're going to add another $8,000 to $10,000 minimum to that cost for somebody to bid this project out.
Now, is this, the cost of this, is this part of that deferred financing package, or is this something that we will have to pay?
Part of it will be with the approved vehicles. Again, part of it will be for grant funding that we received from the Government Highway Safety this year.
So our cash outlay right now to go ahead and order these would be nominal.
I believe it would be. I mean, it's going to be a cost effective whether we do it now or we do it a year from now. If we don't go sole sourcing on this project, you're looking at a $20,000 to $22,000 increase for taxpayers across the board.
Thank you.
And in that question, I guess I'll ask Ms. Pewitt, how does that align with our current budget with the monies requested, and then time-wise, just give a clarity of his time of when money starts?
Well, if I understand it right, this will be part of, and that's an item I'm unclear on. It's been some meetings ago, there was the approval of the loan to purchase the 12 cars and equipment. And so if I understand this correctly, this is, except for the piece that the Governor's Highway Safety Grant reimburses us for, all of this will go into that loan. What I'm unclear about is if that loan still stands, or does that have to be approved again? Do you recall?
This was part of the initial cost on the loan per unit. Am I correct?
Yes, this was originally put into the package that we put together.
So it shouldn't be any out-of-pocket to us.
There's no
Unless
upfront
I'm-
cost to us if everything's approved through the financing plan that was presented. The Governor's Highway Safety funds that we receive are 100% reimbursement funds, so there's no out-of-pocket cost to us. We have to borrow against our money, and then we get it back at the end of the quarter.
Other discussion?
And this is the same company that you're using in your cars right now? So you
Yes.
already have a working relationship?
Yes. This is the new project that we started last year.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Nay? Do you need to do it this way? Is this why this was prepared?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is the recorder recording? Do we need to pass this? You
I
have an
started
original?
it. I was
Okay.
starting it.
Great.
I did that because of the charter provision that said that it had to be unanimous. We wanted to know how the vote was recorded.
Okay. Just didn't want to bypass that, fill in the blank.
Right.
Thank you.
And can I clarify, just because it went so fast, the only nay was yourself? Okay, thank you.
Do we need to pass a motion to authorize Captain Sutton to put bids out now?
No, sir, it's not required to authorize for bids. The charter allows the city manager to do that.
Okay.
But, I mean, they can't authorize a purchase, but they can do the bid.
Right, which would be the fallback position since it did not pass sole
That's
source.
correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Item L, discuss and or take action on Bowie Lake Road Change Order 3. Delone?
Next, the second packet that I handed to you prior to the meeting this afternoon, is basically a project summary of Bowie Lake Road, the Bowie Lake Road widening. That project is complete. Substantial completion was obtained August 5th. A punch list was created by Kevin Holsinger, formerly with the city. The contractor has addressed all of the punch list items, and therefore what you're seeing, the action tonight is to take action on change order number 3, which basically finalizes all the contract numbers according to what was actually installed. And then as you'll see on that summary page on the front, the city had an earmarked project construction budget of $150,000. The initial contract amount was roughly $112,000. Change order 1 added a little over $9,000 to the project. Change order 2 revised the completion date, had no monetary effect. And then change order 3 before you tonight is a little over $21,000 for a final contract amount of $142,516.01. There's a number of other supporting documentation I'll be glad to get into if you have any questions.
Move to approve.
Motion and second, discussion?
Mayor, if I may, we have roughly $7,700 remaining from the original budget amendment and the original amount I was given. So that would leave a remaining $14,000-ish, give or take a few dollars, that would need to be discussed as to where to come from, whether it's not budgeted. So if you want it to come out of the Bowie Park Fund, the Street Aid Fund, the General Fund Reserve, where you would want that to come from for this $21,000.
What are the wishes of the board?
It needs to come from the Bowie Park Fund. It's a Bowie Park project.
Need to amend your motion to add that to it, or?
That's fine.
It's approved, she can just.
We'd just be telling her she can move forward with that.
And I'll bring a
You'd
a
be
budget
requesting an
amendment.
amendment?
She'll have to do a budget amendment. but,
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
I don't think,
Other discussion?
I had a question for Will. I'm sorry. There was a lot of concern about the water coming up under the sidewalk and erosion. One of Nature Fest, I had a lot of citizens make a comment. Yeah, I know that since then I've seen the rock has been moved in. Would that alleviate the concerns of some of the citizens from the erosion?
Absolutely. That was one of the items listed on the punch list for the contractor to correct. He has placed that armored riprap on the face of the slope from the sidewalk down to the, I guess, edge of asphalt. And that is a proven method of preventing erosion, that material leaving from under the sidewalk.
they also dug it out before they put the rock in there, so that the furrow is much more, it's not a surface run, it's actually a dug out run. So a couple of runs that we've had, it's worked just fine.
Other discussion?
I mean, I'm just taking the word of the engineer as far as this goes, because knowing that I've had several professionals show concern about it, I just wanted to make sure that if you feel like we've met any of the requirements, and it will, we won't be back 20 years, 10 years, having to fix the sidewalk.
A couple of thoughts on that. One is, there is, as a part of the closeout documents, there is a 1-year warranty that the contractor provides, that the city requires him to provide. So if something happens within that 1 year and we notice that erosion is taking place in certain areas, then he would have to come back and correct that. The other item, if you recall, this project was, you chose to broke it into 2 phases. The second phase of this project is continuing the new paving all the way to the Nature Center, and a part of that phase would also be to basically remove that riprap and put in a curb and gutter system, much like the new one that was placed on the right side of the road up to the fire hall. So in the long run, I believe the vision is that this riprap is a temporary measure. Now, I say temporary, I fully expect it to last a many number of years until that second phase is chosen to be undertaken. So, but I do not have any concerns at this point after the work that has been done was done. I did have tremendous concern prior to them placing that riprap.
When you designed this, correct?
Yes.
When you brought it to us, you had it designed for the riprap, correct?
Originally we did, and then it was discussed that city staff could place that riprap, so it was removed from the scope of the contract.
In your expert opinion, and I realize you've stated that functionality-wise, it's definitely going to work, but I think it looks horrible. Why would we do that at the entrance to our crown jewel, our nature park, And if so, if it's great and it's a standard practice, why do we not have it up and down Highway 100?
The slopes on Highway 100 are general enough to where riprap wouldn't be required. As far as the aesthetics, I agree, it does not look to be a permanent situation. It was never designed to be a permanent situation. It was designed in an effort to be very cost efficient in coming back in the second phase and placing curb and gutter.
Do you have a time frame for second phase?
I do
Or
not.
are you just waiting on us?
That would be up to the board, yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Oh, the discussion?
Can I add more? How much did it cost us to put y'all are saying the riff raff or whatever? How much did the rocks cost? Do we have any prices? Anybody know?
The placement of the rock was actually done at no cost by the contractor. Kevin Holsinger had already purchased the rock. I do not know if it was specifically for this area or if he just had some on hand. But the contractor placed the rock at no cost that the city had already had the materials.
Thank you.
Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Will. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
You need to take those documents with you, Will. I'd be glad to sign them now if you need to. Okay, thank you. All right, item M, discuss and/or take action on interim city manager position. At this point, I would like to request a ballot vote.
Second. Ooh, we're getting new pens.
A written ballot vote will be passed out to all the commissioners. They'll be collected by the city recorder, tallied by the city attorney and the city recorder. And I'd like to request, once those are tallied, that the response be made of the person who is our next interim city manager. Do you have some clarifications of my request?
When we get them tallied, we will give the result to you and let you announce it.
That sounds fine, thank you.
Okay, who's holding out? That's only 3 pens that went back.
Oh,
Does look like a.
I thought it was the bank.
Just pass it down, I'll give it to you.
There's your supply budget.
I'd like a blank piece of paper with the person who has the majority votes only, please. the person with majority votes, and if you can take the tallies, please. Teresa, if you can take the tallies, please. That way you have them for your record. Thank you. Okay. With majority vote, I'd like to introduce the new interim city manager for the city of Fairview. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Wayne Hall. Thank you very much. I would ask if you'd like to say something. I'm sure you have a lot of time to say lots of things, but you are welcome to make a statement. We appreciate that and welcome you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Commissioners, I want to thank you for your confidence. This is a major challenge in my life, and I don't need y'all's help. I will do my very best to do the right thing for this city. As y'all know how well I love it. I want to thank the city employees and all the citizens of this town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Item number 8A has been scratched from the agenda. 8B, discuss and or take action on employee health and dental insurance. Ms. Pewitt?
Thank you, Mayor. We have Mr. White with Benefits, Inc. here that can answer any questions. We did have a workshop last week after our special meeting where we discussed the insurance plan, and he proposed a new, keeping the existing plan and proposed a new plan, and I'd like for him to explain that if he would, please.
Okay.
Thank you. The following were recommendations on of the council on the work session on Tuesday, October 8th. One was to modify the medical insurance plan with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Tennessee. New plan would be a 4,100% plan. Prescription copays would count towards the out-of-pocket, which they currently do not today. Change will slightly decrease the premiums compared to the premium from last year. The overall premium savings will be $2,500 to the city from just the premium savings alone. There's the other recommendation regarding the dental plan was to change was to improve the benefits with just an internal change with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It's just a plan change within the dental family. It's a different platform. And again, that will not only save the city additional $2,500 a year for the dental, it will improve the benefits for the employees as well. In addition, the employees' cost will remain the same from last year.
Move to approve the recommended changes.
Second.
First and second, discussion.
Just to clarify, there is a potential here that an employee would have, before the catastrophic kicked in, would have $1,000 potential liability. As I think most folks know, we currently reimburse our employees for their deductibles and things of that nature. So we really, for the premium that they pay, they have almost 100% insurance when we do that. So since the majority of our employees do not reach the catastrophic limits, the $1,000 was determined to come in to be the last $1,000. So the first $3,000, and correct me, Tim, if I'm getting this wrong, but the first $3,000, the city will still reimburse the person for.
That's correct.
So basically what we've done in order to hold costs down for both the city and for the employees is we are agreeing to, in a case of a catastrophic event, the employee might have to pay $1,000. But after $1,000, then the insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, would take over, and the first $3,000 we're going to continue to reimburse as we have in the past. So it really is a good way for both parties to continue to maintain a cost and to minimize the risk to anyone on an individual basis. So I read it thoroughly, and I believe the plan that Tim is presenting is a good one for our employees.
May I also add that we had discussed turning the HRA plan over to Blue Cross Blue Shield to handle, so that we'd no longer cut the checks here locally and the employee's no longer the middleman.
Yes, that's part of the package and we currently have an administrative cost because an employee will go to the doctor and then has to wait on the statement of benefits to come in, and then brings the statement of benefits in, and Crystal then writes the check. In this particular instance, when Blue Cross Blue Shield processes the original statement of benefits, we will have in a bank account that they will debit off of, and so the employee will get the reimbursement directly from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we will save the administrative cost. I think it costs us what?
$3.
$3 an employee?
$3.
And the employee doesn't actually get the reimbursement. The doctor will get paid directly.
Yeah. So, but the point is that it's saving us administrative costs, and $3 per claim or per employee, is a pretty good deal.
Other discussion?
Does it cover the entire document here? Is that?
Tim's, all his recommendations, everything he wants, he recommends that we do. He went over it in detail at that meeting he had, briefing he had, and I thought it was a good plan overall.
And just to bring it to light for people that haven't actually read it, it would actually extend the insurance to permanent part-time employees, which this board would be part of that as well, should anyone decide to get on this plan for any reason, whether they lost their insurance or retired or whatnot. So just so everyone knows that.
Other discussion?
Commissioner Sutton had requested information about flexible spending accounts, and if you would like to add them, there's no additional charge with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and it actually will. There is a savings if any employee participates in the flexible spending account. There's a slight savings to the city as well.
And that's something that they would have to set up themselves with the bank.
Actually, we would establish that when we did the benefit communication with the employees, and it will be administered by Blue. The only thing by Blue Cross, and they'll do there is no setup expense but the only thing that the employees would have to do is just file the manual. They'd have to fax in a claim, and then there would be reimbursed the monies that they had set aside.
That have accumulated.
This is employee money.
Actually, what it does, it reduces it's just strictly the tax savings, this is before taxable income, dollars that they would use. If you're in a 30% tax bracket, $1,000, so it's going to save them $300 if they use it. If they use it.
If they use it.
Yeah.
I can amend my motion to include the FSA if employee wants to participate. There's no cost to us.
It's number 2 on the recommendation. If the motion was
it's covered.
If the motion was for full recommendation, you're in there already.
All right, thank you. I don't have this letter in front of me.
Any other discussion?
Tim, you've been working with us for several years, and thank you for everything you've done in keeping our costs down.
Appreciate working with the commission.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I may, I'll also send a communication when we schedule the all-employee meeting to set up, to renew your insurance to the 5 of you, since it's part of the plan now, in the next day or two. So you're aware.
This will be done through the month of November?
It starts November 1st.
Okay. That is the timeframe. It implements January 1st?
No, it implements November 1st, right?
November 1st.
November, it implements November 1st. Our renewal's on November 1st, so our meeting should be next week.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, item 8C is discuss and or take action on recommendations from the Park Board. In the last Park Board meeting, it was addressed by a few of the Park Commission of the process and the due diligence and the concern of the timing for the forestry project that was approved by the Board of Commission. The motion was made and carried for a recommendation to be made to the Board of Commission to request action by the Board of Commission to put focus on the completion of the approved forestry plan. That is my motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm not sure what that, put focus, what does that mean?
Well, and I tarried over doing the exact words was to focus on the plan that the Board of Commissioner has set forth to the staff to get done, that the tarryingness of it is a concern to the Park Board of the timing and getting completed and the convoluency of what's happening and new developments and needing more and additional such, which could cost more money, such as a survey, which I understand the concept of the thought and the question, but it's not the exactness of the project. The project from the Tennessee Forester was presented to the Board of Commission and multiple times, and I'll go ahead and make a full explanation so everyone will understand. That was presented. It was then worked through many more times. He represented, and he watered down his first presentation of the full need of the thinning of the loblolly pines in the Bowie Park concentrated area that was pointed out, of the thickness and the purpose of the pine beetles and the several different things. We voted on his kind of condensed plan, which was 3.2 acres, give or take, and his full recommendation was somewhere between 40 and 50 acres of thinning. So the project actually was put down into a test plot of 3 plus or minus 1 acre tracts to see what basal would be acceptable by not only the public, the park, the staff, of the basal he recommended. Thus, it went forward that it was to be bid out, and I'm going to say back in March, April, May sometime, that it was bid out. And we have kind of been in that stagnated spot ever since. And Keith is very diligent. The situation has just going to meet with someone this month, next month, 3 months. But the focus of it's 3 acres, and I think we had a number of approximately 75 trees. And what was brought up at the Park Board was we might need to get a survey to give exact. That's not the point. The point is an area. If you mark off a 210 by 210, that's 1 acre, and do 3 of them in this concentrated area that was agreed upon, we might have to amend what we agreed, saying 3.2. But the ultimate goal is to look at a test site of 3 plots with 3 different projects to then look of how we want to address the full project, which was recommended by the state forestry, which is a requirement of the conservation easement that we have an active forestry plan in place and that we have a plan of action of taking care of the wellness of the park and the park's future. That's why this was discussed, because the tarryingness of it is concerning, that it is not a big deal and it's going into 9 months of how to get it done. And the board asked that the Board of Commission be aware and that they take action to focus on this project's completion on the 3-acre discussion.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that. I do think that maybe it's a good time to share, and this is just information that I've picked up through listening to Mr. Paisley and his presentations and that sort of thing. It seems to me that they had some defects, for lack of a better term, in the forester's plan, that not enough trees had been marked, or too many trees were marked, or there wasn't enough acreage, or that sort of thing, and that the state has not sent us a different forester to kind of update that. The forester we had kind of fizzled, for lack of a better term, and that no one bid on it. We put that bid process out, but we got no bids. So they having to go contractor to contractor, invite them out there to take a look at it to see if they're willing to bid. Now, I don't know if any of those people have offered a price or not. That I don't know.
Keith shared with us that there was a bid of 10 or 14,000, and that's been 3 months ago. Yeah.
I have a question for the city attorney. When we were talking about bids process the other day, and we were talking about police cars, and I asked the question about the soliciting, could we go to people? You said that wasn't a process that we could do, and Commissioner Bissell just said that we were asking for for bids. So is there a difference in clarification?
Yes, there is. What you were talking about, could you bring the people in here and on something over $10,000 have in essence an auction? Can't do that.
Well,
But
okay.
They followed.
These are under $10,000.
Okay, just wanted to, because it wasn't but a couple
Plus,
meetings ago.
you had already
were saying-
attempted to bid and nobody had bid. You have not attempted to bid on police cars and nobody bid.
Okay.
The state uniform purchasing policy will not allow you to bring people in and sit them down and say, and I'm being facetious, but what am I bid for this? That you can't conduct an open, ongoing bid. It has to be sealed bids.
Yeah, well, I was referring to the statement of when somebody had recommended, one of the citizens, you go so many miles around and invite them, to bid kind of thing. But either way, I was just making sure we weren't crossing over the same area you just advised.
You're not in the danger you run into if you do a radius is if you fail to notify somebody, then he has a claim against you for saying you left me out on purpose when really it was a mistake. But you've already submitted bids and you got no bids. So it doesn't tie your hands to not try to get the work done.
Okay.
Just clarifying, we do have bids confirmed by Keith. There is a bid on the table of someone willing and able and capable to do.
And how much was it? 10,000? 14,000?
It was after the bid process, though, came in with no bids.
Yes, yeah, but he had been soliciting for bids and directed to solicit for bids additional multiple times.
My
And he's
purpose-
done that.
My purpose being that if nobody bids, it doesn't mean that the city is hand-tied and can't ever do the job.
Right.
So is the park board, commission, whatever the proper title is, are they wanting us to fund the 14,000 and then have Director Paisley move forward? Or, I mean, I'm still kind of, are they just wanting to call to our attention that there have been delays in the process?
The motion was to request action by the Board of Commission to put a focus on the completion of the approved forestry plan.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we ask the city manager or the interim city manager to get with the director and at the next meeting, November whatever that is, provide us with a firm, should we take this or not take this, and what time frames would be involved in getting it done so that we can make sure it either gets on track or we defer it to the springtime or something because the winter's coming on us. Whatever it needs to do so that we have a definite plan. But I think that would, for our new interim city manager, that would be a good way to get to know the forestry management.
I second that. Discussion?
Is the $14,000 in the budget?
No, sir, it's not.
We discussed the park fund of being able to take care of that because it's necessity.
Park?
Yeah.
It's the park, and that is correct. If I could make one statement, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
This is, I believe the gentleman's name was Dwight Barnett that came and spoke to us here. And I don't know what happened. I heard some things that happened, and some people over his head may have got called and whatnot, and the project stopped. But this project was set to do the entire thing, and the city make money to put back into the park fund. Now we're looking at cutting 3 acres of trees, and it costing us $14,000. That is absurd. That is absolutely crazy. If it's a test spot and it works, and then how much are we going to have to spend to cut the rest of the trees? I'm not so sure we don't need to go back to the original proposal and have it done the way the state said we needed to do it, and then put the money in the Bowie fund. I just wanted to make that statement, and maybe the new city manager can work with them and find out what's going on that. Thank you.
I don't make a statement that I never felt the test sites, but if it was a way of moving conservatively on our precious jewel, Bowie Park, I was in favor of doing and moving forward, being that it's been a discussion for 10, 15 years of the necessity of focusing on the thicket of the loblolly pines. Other discussion? We have an amendment, voting on the amendment for it to go to the interim city manager and the park department, Mr. Paisley, and other people that are involved. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Original motion, yes, it's been deferred, but the original motion is just the commitment of the Board of Commissioners focusing on the request of the Park Board. Any discussion?
Accepted and acknowledged, so we should,
Okay.
I think we just
All right.
approve it and move on.
Thank you very much. Vote?
I don't think you need to vote.
The
I think
first
we
vote
took-
was-
I think
the
we
second
took care-
vote was
we took
taken
care
care of, I
the
agree.
action.
All right, item D, discuss and or take action on recommendation from the Public Safety Committee, City Attorney Contrail. I have a question. Is this interlocal agreement before us the same thing we discussed at last meeting that was voted on to go to the county for signature?
That was the one that was to be voted on for signatures, but it was referred to the safety committee, for the safety committee to make a recommendation to this board.
I see.
And that's what I'm prepared to do now.
Okay, being we do not have the minutes, I don't disagree. I just have nothing to validate because I believe we voted it to go to the county.
Mayor, the county commission
county
passed
passed
it
it last
Monday night.
I'm
Monday
sorry,
night.
thank you for that clarification.
I
So
was
the safety
advised.
committee is presenting it as an approval of the safety committee for the Board of Commission to consider tonight.
Well, yes, ma'am, there's two parts to that. Actually, let me deal with the one that we can't really act on tonight. First part of it was about procuring some sort of relief for the police department relative to the pistol range with WADC. I have the document, the contract that WADC and the city approved. This board approved it and their board approved it. When I started reading through it, after when we met, they approved getting some relief, the committee did. And I've looked through it, and I had a few questions. I've sent some information to Chief Harris. And what I would like to do with that one, the recommendation of the committee was to move forward on obtaining some relief on this. And what I would like to do is get with Chief Harris and Captain Sutton if in his absence or the pistol range, and put together something. We're going to be asking WADC to give up some stuff, and before we do that, I would like to bring it back to this board and get your approval on what the police department wants to do, and then we can approach WADC and maybe work something out on this.
Okay, you switched on me. I was talking about the interlocal
Right. Well,
agreement.
I want to get the other one out of the way first. But the interlocal agreement, the Public Safety Committee considered the interlocal agreement and the resolution authorizing the mayor to sign that on behalf of the city. And it was a unanimous recommendation of the Public Safety Committee to approve the interlocal agreement and to approve the resolution 19-13, authorizing Your Honor to sign that on behalf of the city. I would request, since we've got discuss and or take action, that the action that the committee recommended was to approve the interlocal agreement for automatic response of fire rescue and EMS services, and to approve the resolution authorizing the mayor to sign that. That's our recommendation.
And this has been approved and voted on by the county.
I was advised by Chief Cooper tonight that the county approved this at their meeting Monday night.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Yes. First and second, discussion? All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Mayor, we need to read the caption of the resolution.
A resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Fairview, Tennessee to execute an interlocal agreement for automatic response of fire rescue and EMS services with Williamson County. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did they approve the agreement? Have you already approved that? There's two documents.
No.
You approved the resolution?
Motion to approve the interlocal agreement as well.
Second.
Do we need to read the caption of that one?
No, ma'am.
It just says some numbers and letters and some
Right.
squigglies.
We do need to vote on it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I do not have, nor have I seen a revised agreement with WADC.
That's what I was referring to in the first one. I'm hoping to bring, the recommendation from the committee was, they got me the information. I have sent some information back and questions I had to Chief Harris. I would like to bring that agreement proposal to this board for their review and approval, comments, whatever, at the next meeting.
Okay.
And then, because we got to get with the police department on some of those too. And we'll have that for the next meeting, and then we can send that on to WADC for their input.
Excellent. Any
Thank you.
comments or questions from the board on the subject of the agreement with WADC? Okay, moving on. E, discuss and/or take action on insurance claim on police vehicle involved in accident. Ms.
Thank you.
Buick?
Thank you, Mayor Toddy. I do not have the date of the accident, and Captain Sutton may be able to help us if you're interested in the exact date, but one of our officers had come in contact with a deer on 840 recently, and once TML, our insurance company, reviewed it, they decided that the vehicle was a total loss. And they have given us two options, and City Attorney Cantrell advised that since the options were over $10,000, that we needed your approval. One is that we keep the vehicle and they pay us the value, and two is that they keep the vehicle and they pay us the value. There's about a $350 difference, and it is the police department's recommendation that we allow the insurance company to keep the totaled vehicle after we remove the equipment. And this vehicle was bought out of the drug fund, so the money will have to go back into the drug fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Can we spend some of that on our first payment?
No, ma'am, you can't make payments out of the drug fund.
Any other
Go
discussion?
to jail for that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is the discuss and/or take action on recycling rebate. Ms. Buick?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hyatt was working on this before he left. It is a rebate where it is a matching program. We get $578, and we have to match it with $578. He had been in contact with Dr. Oyer at the high school, and I have since spoken with her also. She would like to have some containers bought to put at the football stadium concession stand, as well as the new concession stand up by the baseball fields, and then a few small containers for in the school that would reach the total of roughly $1,200. This has to be submitted by Monday, so I just need approval to move forward with the grant.
Move to approve.
Second. First and second, any discussion? Only comments I'll make in reading the agreement, I'm fully supportive of that. And when we started it, it was a great movement. And until we get them all done, it's a great idea. But in reading the material, it did talk about we can cooperate with the county on this money, or if we do not agree to match and move forward with the receipt of that refund or rebate, that it automatically goes to the county. I would like to just put out there that there are things in our city that the county owns and runs and operates, and we may want to look, as this is an annual rebate, how maybe we could utilize that as we co-op with the county on, example, if we felt new fencing or something needed to be done at the recycle center behind the CRA. Can that be a focus? And not for an answer or discussion, I just wanted to put that out for thought process, that we could be in a co-op way, knowing that money may be used for stuff versus asking the county, come do this, come do that, that we can say that's a focus for us as we're working together in Fairview to make it the best. So just a statement there. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item G has been deferred. Item H is discuss and or take action on the town hall being canceled on October 31st.
Move to approve.
We have multiple approvals in seconds and thirds. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Trick or treat.
Thank you. City manager, items for discussion?
I have no items under city manager, ma'am.
Miscellaneous updates, that's you. Staff comments.
Mayor, we have received a letter from the Department of Transportation regarding our STP funds that we were requesting an extension on obligating for our resurfacing project. We've got the letter back from Paul Daggs stating that they have approved our request to extend it. They've only extended it through December 31st of 2013. We'll let you know that we're still under the same constraints because the NEPA process that we're in right now is still in TDOT's hand, and we haven't heard anything back from them on the NEPA phase until we can get a notice to proceed to the next phase. We can't proceed forward. The next phase would be the design phase. Until we can get a clearance from the NEPA and a notice to proceed for the design, we can't proceed forward. And the money that we're really needing to get obligated is the construction part of that. So just to let you know that we did get the extension, but they only extended to December 31st. We got a notice to proceed for the design phase of the roadscape project. We will be getting with Lawson Associates for that design phase for the roadscapes first of next week.
Okay, thank you. Other staff comments this evening? Everybody's comments are important. It's 9:45. Let's roll.
Where's the check, Keith?
The first one for the park is the Haunted Forest Carnival of Lost Souls. It'll be happening October 25th and 26th from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. The cost will be $10 per person, and hopefully we load up on them. Heard it's supposed to be cold. I have another one, leaf pickup, community service, starts November 4th, and if anyone has leaves or are looking to get rid of the leaves right now, if they bag them up and call us, we'll be happy to come pick them up as long as they're biodegradable bags. And last, I just want to thank the Chamber for giving us this little donation. We'll put it to some good use. Hopefully, probably put it towards programming, expand us a little bit more on that.
Great. Thank you. Other staff comments?
Very briefly, Commissioner Jones and your counterpart, Commissioner Jones, if by whatever method you can communicate with your constituents on our agreement with the county now that is in writing. Some of the insurance companies will honor that, and your constituents will be able to take care of either qualify for a reduction under our ISO class. On our side of that, we have a county engine fire truck stationed inside the city. I want credit for that, and that's why it has to be in writing. That's why we passed that tonight. ISO said, we know you've been doing it for 30 years. If it's not in writing, we don't recognize it. We would be fools not to take advantage of it. The other thing I have is, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I guess every day should really be breast cancer. We've had the shirts that we had last year. We've upgraded the shirt and also the design by turning the ribbon into a nozzle or a hose, if you would. And the firefighters paid for these, and they're $15 a piece. We've got some at the fire station. We've sold over 100 so far. All of the profits go to the cause. Nothing goes back in the fire department. We paid for those, not the city. So those are for sale. Come get some.
Thank you.
I purchased one today. I challenge y'all all to buy one.
Thank you.
Your wives will look good in pink.
Hold one for me. All right, other staff this evening? Any other staff going once, going twice? Done. City attorney comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make mine real brief. I know the hour's late. I respectfully request that the mayor, Chief Cooper, and Ms. Teresa stay for just a couple of minutes after the meeting so we can get the interlocal agreement executed so I can mail it off to the county attorney in the morning. One other piece of information I want to pass out, the city is not directly involved in this, but just in case you hear something about it, you'll be knowledgeable. I received a copy this week of an attempt, I think, at a class action federal lawsuit that was filed by a inmate in the Williamson County Jail against a former officer of the city of Fairview. It was filed pro se, and after reading it several times, I ascertained from that the city is not a defendant. They were not named in the suit. TML has assigned Dan Nolan to defend the former police officer. I have communicated with Mr. Nolan. He has also read the complaint, and if you read the complaint, you would understand what I'm saying, that he also ascertained that the city wasn't a defendant, and that normally is fairly easy, but in this case, that was not real easy to ascertain. The suit was, like I said, I'm not making any comments about the gentleman writing the suit, but it was kind of rambling and it was not real specific. But I just want to put that out there at this time. We may be named at some point, but at this time we have not been named, so we won't have to do anything at this point, just in case you've got some information about it, that you heard about it, and you know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I do have a question for you. What's the status on the King Grocery situation where it was sent up to Chancery Court on a beer violation?
I have asked the chief to find out for me, and I haven't seen him since then, what was the outcome of the lady that went to court, and I have not heard back from him, but I will find out and let you know.
Captain Sutton, can you help him with that? Several months ago, I don't remember the exact day the findings was, for the bigger permit to go and be suspended or withdrawn from King Grocery because of the number of offenses that they had, and they chose to submit it to Chancery Court.
The lady bound her case over to the grand jury. She was supposed to go to court. Right, she was supposed to go to court.
And we haven't heard anything since then, and I know that the grand jury's probably met 4 times since then.
Well, she was supposed to go to court on the 31st. Right. And I was checked with the chief. He was going to find out and let me know, and I haven't heard back from him yet.
I'll check on that first thing.
Thank you. Right.
Okay. Communications from the commissioners. Commissioner Sutton.
Yes, former acting city manager period, I just want to commend you on the job that you've done in this little short interim period of time. I know you've got a full-time job all the time, and to take this on, we really appreciate your help in doing that. City Manager Hall, congratulations. I'm sure that you will work well with Crystal and all the other directors that are here, so congratulations. Anything we can do to help you, please let us know. I think that's it.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Crystal, thank you for everything that you've done for the last couple of weeks, and I guess you'll be happy to get through tomorrow. I would like to ask you this evening, before you leave, if you could send an inter-office memo to the department heads. I'm going to call an 8 o'clock press conference in the morning and would like all the employees that can be here to be here.
Yep.
What time will it start? All right. We'll move it to the front steps. And I will introduce Mr. Hall and give a short address.
Is that something that anyone can do, or do we have to discuss that, or just question? We've never had this come up.
Anyone can do it.
Anyone can do. We've never discussed it, so I wasn't aware.
If it's
Great
his,
idea.
if it's his press conference, he can call a press conference to do what he wants to say.
Okay. But he's calling on behalf of the city of Fairview.
I know he'd be calling on behalf of himself. If it's going to be called on behalf of the city of Fairview, it's going to be acted on by the board.
This is the press conference that I am calling to introduce Mr. Hall.
I think it's a great idea. I'd love to be a part of it. So what time?
8 o'clock.
Excellent.
All employees that can.
All that can come. I understand that there's people that are having to do things, but anybody that can. And if you would also send an email to Nancy to let her know this is going on.
Great. Other discussion?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Commissioner Vassell?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Hall. I think he'll do a fine job, and I look forward to working with him in that capacity. Secondly, I think Mr. Hooper has left, but Mr. Lavorne's still here, and I appreciate very much that they were willing to step forward and offer their services in the capacity of doing that. That's a real call for civic duty, and it's much appreciated as well. I want to encourage everybody to come out and see the clowns at the park. I personally don't like clowns, so I will be carrying my ranger outfit that night to make sure no clown gets close to me. So, having seen the array of clowns that we have mustering in the Nature Center at this time, if clowns bother you, come on out, because it's a perfect Halloween event. Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
Commissioner Carroll?
Just want to say congratulations to Mr. Hall. I know you'll do a great job for the city, and I appreciate everybody that took the time to apply. Now, are you able to start tomorrow? Because I don't think anybody clarified that. Do we need a 2 weeks' notice?
Yes, next Monday is his first.
Okay, well. Okay. Of course. Okay. I wouldn't expect it any other way, so whatever you need to do. And I guess that's it. I just, like I said, I appreciate everybody coming out, putting their name, taking that risk. And it's really a volunteer service. I mean, I know we're paying, but it does, the position takes a lot of responsibility. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's willingness to step up and help the city out. And just, I know our department heads are going to continue to do a fine job no matter who's in. And I know that they'll be happy and willing to work with, you, Mr. Hall. So, and I appreciate a lot of people I've taken the time to talk to this last week and today, and I appreciate your input and opinions and just your willingness to move forward and continue with city business.
I'd like to thank Ms. Hewitt. You've done an amazing job. You stepped up to the task. You took the bulls by the horn and you ran with it, and I appreciate that. You did a great job. Even whether you didn't know whether you could or not, you did perfect, and all things were covered, and I appreciate your commitment to the city and all the things that you've done since we've been in this process. I appreciate all the people, as they said before, redundant, that have stepped forward to serve the city in the way that they have. And I welcome Mr. Hall and look forward to working with you as we process through making Fairview a better place. I don't have any other notes, if there be anything else. If not, I'll entertain a movement for adjournment. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you so much for your attention. Good evening.